Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is Thursday, Halloween, October 31st. Yeah. Oh, man, a disastrous night last night. I'm not going to talk too much about it, but you know what I'm referring to. My Yankees, total meltdown, the biggest choke job since probably the 2004 American League Championship Series with the Red Sox, but this was just, it was like a nightmare playing out in reality right in front of my face. I was literally, for the first 5 innings, the first 4 innings, I was on the phone with my son and we're like exhilarated and yeah, this is happening and they're going to force a game 6. And literally like 1 minute later, the whole entire thing started to implode and it went from worse to worse to worse. I mean, it was like a nightmare playing out in reality, and just like I was so disgusted at the end, like a lot of fans. Anyway, what can I say, folks? New data that I have: interest income transfers down now 17 billion year over year. I give you that information. Do you know what to do with that information? I mean, clearly my subscribers know what to do with that information because, I help them with it. I educate them on what that means. I help them to position or strategize in their investments or what the economic outlook. Not everybody that subscribes to my report necessarily is a stock market investor. Many are business owners and they like to have an idea of just economic conditions so they could plan ahead. But if I give you that information, 17 billion down, do you know what to do with it? Remember the movie Wall Street, the first movie Wall Street I'm talking about, Gordon Gekko, the greed is good. But he says to Bud Fox, his sidekick, the most valuable commodity is information. And this is what I try to convey here on this channel, is information, it's understanding, it's an education. Also stuff like mental game, resilience, discipline, that kind of stuff. Today we saw a big drop in stocks. I'm not surprised. I mean, we're going to start to really get into a different environment. I said this way back in the summer. I said from September 30th on, we are going to be I said from September 18th on, we are going to be in a different set of monetary and fiscal conditions than the one we've been in for the last like 2.5 years. And it was going to start with the Fed rate cuts, and we're already starting to see the impact of that from one single rate cut. Okay, Fed's going to cut again on November 7th next week. They're probably going to cut again in December, although that probability went down today, but I'm sure it'll go back up. We're going to start to see a deterioration, some slowdown in the economic data. It's not obvious now, but I can tell you, 17 billion in 5 weeks, that drop in interest income transfers, and it's like 17.4 billion, something like that. I mean, that extrapolates out to like 180 something billion over a year from one interest rate cut. All right. And we're going to get more. I mean, folks, this is exactly the same thing as what happened in 2002 with the rate increases, where back then I was saying here on my channel every day, we're going to go through a brief period where the monetarists are all going to freak out and they're going to, sell like a bunch of zombies. And it's going to create a massive buying opportunity in stocks. The economy is going to be fine. It's not going to go into a recession because the rate increases are going to translate into massive interest income transfers. And that's exactly what happened. In fact, to the point where all you read about nowadays is, the government has to pay all this interest. Well, yeah, that's what I was saying way back at the time when the Fed started to raise interest rates, from the get-go. And it's the same process in reverse. They're removing the interest income, all right? And it was massive. I mean, that interest income transfer over those 2 years from 2022 until now, I mean, it was massive, okay? So they're going to be siphoning that off. It's not going to be, I said yesterday, and I've been saying, it's taken $1 trillion plus in interest income transfers just to generate a 2.8% growth rate in the economy. I mean, think about that. It takes a 1.4, 1.5 trillion net transfers, which, some people refer to as the deficit. I don't use that term anymore. 1.4 trillion in net transfers to generate a 2.8% growth rate. I mean, and 7 trillion plus of leading spending flows to generate a 2.8% growth rate. I mean, we used to do that when the spending flows were like 3.5 trillion. And, 250 billion used to be considered like a massive, massive net government transfer. Now we're doing 1.5 trillion annually. So like any little drop off in those transfers, you're not going to have a 2.8% growth rate. You'd be lucky if you have a 1%, and more likely than not, you're going to have a flat. Now, a lot of what's going on now, too, is this so-called, the election trade, the Trump trade, whatever you want to call it. Frankly, I think that's people really jumping the gun here. Everything right now is rhetoric. It's campaign rhetoric. We don't know what the actual policies are going to be. We don't know what's going to get passed by Congress. We don't know the details. Some things might be included, some things might not be included. Maybe some new things are going to be added. I mean, we just don't know right now. I think it's jumping the gun. If you made money on that Trump trade, well, good for you. That was a speculation. I'm not saying it can't happen. I prefer to wait and see what the outcome is. I prefer to wait and see what the actual policies are that are passed, and then I could strategize from that. I don't need to jump the gun right now, because whatever is cemented in place, I mean, you're talking about something that's going to carry at least for the next 2 years, which will be the next midterm election. If that will end up changing whatever policies are put in place now. And they could last for another 4 years. So do I have to jump in right now and risk being wrong because I'm kind of guessing, what the eventual policies are going to be? I don't see any value in doing that, by the way. So I wait. The beauty of this thing in a democracy, where it pretty much information is available freely and openly. They tell you what they're going to do. The Fed tells you what it's going to do. The Congress tells you what it's going to do. And the president tells you what he'd like to do or she'd like to do. And then we wait and we see what is implemented. And if you have an understanding of how these policies affect economic activity, which I do, which anyone would who has an understanding of MMT, because that is the actual way the monetary system operates, then, you could strategize off of that. I don't see any value right now in jumping the gun. There's some macro trades that I have recommended based in my to my subscriber list. It's going to take a little bit of patience. These things are only first starting to develop. Everything like the video I said yesterday, everything that I said was going to happen is happening right now. It's a slow process in the beginning, just like it was a slow process in 2022 when, people were selling like crazy. Recession forecasts were universal everywhere. Everyone was saying there'd be a recession. Not me, because I knew what was going to happen. I said the economy was going to boom and we're going to have all-time record stock prices. And that's exactly what happened. It took a little time. It took a little patience. But, I tend to be early on these things because I see this before everybody else. It's not evident. It's still not evident to a lot of people who made money on this, because they don't understand these dynamics, or most of them have it completely backwards anyway. So, if you're making money that way, you're basically making money by luck, and you're making money by jumping in as a FOMO investor, fear of missing out, and you're catching a little ride at the end. I'm telling you right now, a lot of people who came in recently to the stock market, they weren't in last year. They weren't in 2023. If you're one of them, pipe up. Let us hear about it. I'm sure there's people out there listening to this that last year they were bearish as hell. I have subscribers now who were telling me, like, maybe they were working for some firms. Maybe they were working for some asset management firms. I had a guy who's working for an asset management firm. He said he had Morgan Stanley people coming into his office every day saying how You got to get out of the market. You got to stay on the sidelines. All last year in 2023. Remember their big strategist, Mike Wilson. I did many videos on this guy. He was so bearish on the rate increases. What happened? So same thing going on now, only in reverse. Believe me, guys, they don't understand how these things function. They're going to get this wrong, and it's going to be great for us. Anyway, that's it for today, folks. Please like and subscribe, and don't forget to go to my website, pitbulleconomics.com. Sign up for a 30-day free trial to MMT Trader, and I'll tell you what that 17 billion drop in net trade. That's just the beginning, too, folks. That happened quick, in a 5-week period. That happened very quick. See you tomorrow. Bye.